What makes challenges fun? There are countless Pokemon challenges that the internet has attempted. Hardcore Nuzlocks, solo runs, map randomizers, and, most notably, Twitch Plays Pokemon. However, out of all of these challenges, there has been one that has really stood out amongst the rest. One that's been called impossible by some, a matter of luck by others, and frustratingly difficult by nearly everyone. Kaizo Ironmon. If you've never heard of this challenge, good for you. You've probably not experienced or watched someone experience the Pokemon equivalent of watching paint dry while simultaneously smashing their head against said wall that's covered in paint. This challenge run takes all other challenge runs and spits on their face, breaks their kneecaps, and then insults their mothers while they're still crying in pain on the floor. There are many, and I mean many, rules for this challenge that make it difficult. You can only use one Pokemon for the entire run. All Pokemon and items are randomized. All base stat spreads are randomly distributed. You can only use healing items in battles. So you have randomized moves, you can't use healing moves. Can't leave various dungeons throughout the entire run. Can't use held items. Can't grind on wild Pokemon. Every important trainer battle has increased levels and... Oh hey, would you look at that? If you die, you restart the entire challenge. With all that in mind, you'd have to be a complete dipshit with either too much confidence or not enough brain cells to attempt this challenge for 24 hours straight. So I decided to attempt this challenge for 24 hours straight. Wait, who wrote this script? I attempted to beat Kaizo Ironmon on Twitch for 24 hours. And to make it even more difficult, I would punish myself every 20 attempts from the Wheel of Punishment. Was this a good idea? No. Literally everyone I asked said that this was a bad idea. However, despite everyone's doubts, I wanted to go into this challenge headstrong and ready to take on the hardest Pokemon challenge for literally a day's worth of time. This is the 24-hour Kaizo Ironmon challenge. I started the stream with high hopes and a spring in my step. Prior to this stream, I've actually never attempted Ironmon, but I had watched a handful of other streamers attempt the challenge in the past, so I knew the general gist. On top of that, I had a document off to the side that outlined the optimal routing for this challenge. So I began my 24-hour journey with our first attempt. I'd spent nearly 3 hours prior to the stream to make sure everything was running correctly, so I was excited to see what my first options would be. That's a good start. Why does this say Combuskin? Huh, that doesn't seem right. Regardless, the program chooses the Combuskachu on the left, and we seem to miss out on a Lantern called Lantern. Okay, good start. And Apom the Swinub. Okay. I grabbed the Raichu and nickname it after the most recent subscriber on Twitch, which, by the way, if you want to hang out, check out the Twitch and subscribe. So, Banshee the Raichu becomes the first of, hopefully not that many, attempts of this challenge. Our rival, aptly named Kaizo, then introduces us to the first obstacle every Kaizo player must overcome to even consider a run viable: leaving the lab. While this fight is often trivial in the mainline games because of bad AI or simply the fact that you don't actually have to win in order to progress, for Iron Kaizomon, you not only have to win this fight to leave the lab, but also have to face a Mon that is 3 levels higher than your starter. That, on top of the randomized movesets, could easily mean that you'll be sent back to the title screen for a majority of your runs. Kaizo challenges us and shows us which starter he ends up taking, the level 12 Swine... Huh? Wait, what the fuck? Level 12? So at this point, I was starting to realize more and more things that might have been messed up with my game. Nevertheless, I decided to persist with our Identity Crisis Raichu. My confidence was high, and surprisingly, so was Raichu's defenses. So despite the gigantic level gap, we were able to take down our first opponent. We were out of the lab, ladies and gentle people, and on the first try, I would like to say. Thank you, no need to clap, I'm just like you. I also thought Nosepass's leg was its mouth for some reason. We grab the free potion on the first route and immediately see a potential pivot on our way back to Pallet Town, Snorlax. Because of its single weakness and whopping 540 base stat total, this big boy felt like the perfect choice for us to switch over once we had the chance to get Pokeballs. So, after retrieving Oak's parcel, we used the balls that he gave us to catch the sleepy behemoth. Welcome in, Banshee 2. After we drop off Banshee 1, I could see what the true potential of Banshee 2 was. The ability Water Veil would allow us to avoid burns, which can be extremely helpful during the battles to remove one of 2 stat conditions that can whittle down our health over time. However, while Big Banshee had a big special attack stat, the only special attack that we had was Volt Tackle. Big damage, yes, but the recoil and not being able to hit ground types was a bit unfortunate. We make it to Viridian Forest for the first time to take on the first of what would likely be many trainers during this entire run. As mentioned before, we can't grind on any wild Pokemon. So, with our level 9 Snorlax, we face off against Schoolboy Liliana. Once again, the levels seem a bit skewed as he sends out a level 14 Meowth. However, despite taking some damage both from the opposing sides and ourselves, we take the little guy out. As long as the next opponent wasn't too difficult, we should be able to come out of this pretty unscathed. Oh, okay, well, despite our attempts to take out the armored bug, our Volt Tackle can't even get it down to 50%, and we're swiftly taken out by Triple Kick the following turn. RIP Banshee 2. Despite it being our first run though, as well as potentially scuffed level modifications, we were still able to get out of the lab successfully, which in my naive little brain was a huge accomplishment. How hard can it really be, said the unsuspecting streamer. Before this run, I actually spent a few minutes making sure that all of the files were running correctly to make sure that the level changes were accurate. We make our way to the lab for the second time, and lo and behold, the Pokemon randomly chosen for us was actually Nidoking, one of my chosen favorite Pokemon. These favorites are not important after the starter selection, but they allow you to choose a Pokemon off the lab table even if the evil program tells you to take another. So instead of being stuck with a Pidgey, you could potentially take a built Machamp or Jolteon instead if they were one of your favorites. So we're luckily able to take Kento the Nidoking, while our rival only gets a lowly little Wurmple. Our moveset is a bit unfortunate, however, with Dynamic Punch only having a 50% chance to land, and Frenzy Plant, like Hyper Beam, leaving us with a recharge turn that could leave us completely vulnerable. We did, however, have Horn Drill, a move that instantly KOs an opponent if it lands. While I did forget that this only works if a Pokemon is of equal or lower level to you, I decided to throw caution to the wind and attempt the OHKO on the bug. Horn Drill is the one-hit kill. Oh, it has Sturdy. Do you think God stays in heaven because they too live in fear of what they created? Well, regardless, we were able to brute force our way through this fight because, let's be honest, it's a fucking Wurmple, and get out of the lab. That's 2 for 2 so far, and they said this would be hard. Continuing our string of nutty luck so far, I actually find a wild Gyarados on Route 22 west of Viridian City as well. Once again, this Pokemon has wildly high base stats, albeit this time with more weaknesses as well, with a 4 times weakness to Electric. Despite that, we pivot off Nidoking and take Kento 2, the Gyarados. We return to Viridian Forest and take on the first trainer once more. This time, I luckily have the levels fixed and only have to start off taking on a level 9 Lotad, which we quickly take out with a Stomp. And while the following Marowak leaves us paralyzed with a Lick, ew, by the way, we still quickly take it out with 2 more Stomps. And with that, we have now passed our personal best. Hooray! At this rate, we should be done in no time. Since we were only really weak to Electric and Rock-type moves, we didn't have to worry too much for these following fights, unless fuck. We should really be worried for every one of these single fights for even the weakest electric moves, because fuck man, that was stressful. Despite taking out the Mankey and facing the most littlest guys afterwards, I decided to use our free potion already because of my fear of any potentially super effective moves. However, after that, we started to sweep through the rest of Viridian Forest with Kento 2, as well as find a few PP maxes that would be extremely crucial later on in the game. We also were able to take on our rival once again on Route 22 for the additional XP and quickly take out his Sandslash, and of course, oh! He returns, gamers! This time, though... Wait, shit. This time... Fucking hell, dude. This time, though, yes! First try. With our rival running with his metaphorical tail between his legs, we were now ready to take on the first gym of our Kaizo Ironmon career. We face off against the gym trainer before Brock, and while we leave his C-Dot shattered with a single stomp, his Scorpish was a bit more of an issue. Ooh, you lived that. That's actually kind of impressive. Ah! No, no, no! No! So it comes down to if I para or not. Yes! Okay. Thank God. Why is this game so fucking stressful, dude? I didn't even break a sweat. Before I talk about my epic fight against Brock, I do have to bring up something related to the rules. For some transparency, you're not allowed to leave the gym until everyone is beaten. That means all gym trainers must be defeated on top of the leader. However, for this early run, I may have accidentally forgotten that rule. Whoops. So before anyone has a chance to say it, yes, I do suck at video games. I'm sorry for that. Regardless of my terrible cheating ways, I take on Brock for the very first time, ready for whatever he had planned for us. Ah! I was not ready for whatever he had planned for us. Almost perfectly, this Pokemon nearly walls out our entire moveset. And while we do land a Thunder with a Para on the first turn, his special defense is much bulkier than I thought, and he lands several Hyper Fangs and a finishing Acid. Kento 2 goes down, ending our second run right at the feet of Brock. While this was a devastating loss, I still had my head high. Before I started the stream, I actually asked a friend of the stream, Brian was taken, how many attempts it took him to beat Brock, and he told me over 300. So the fact that we were able to face him in just 2 was enough to inspire me to keep going on. I knew that this would still be possible. To test my skill and luck though, I decided to double down on this belief and ask my mods to run a poll to see if I could beat Brock in less than 20 attempts. Was my arrogance overflowing? Maybe, but I was ready to show that I could do what hundreds of others couldn't. While run 3 was promising with Tigresh the Flareon taking us all the way back to Brock, we ended up wiping on his final Pokemon, the physical attacking Seadra that slams us all the way back to Oak's lab. And while I felt like the first 3 runs had gotten the ball rolling, after run 4, well, that's fine, chat. After a slew of unsuccessful runs, I could see that the self-imposed first goal was just a few runs away, and I started to lose hope that I could meet it. While it had only been about 30 minutes since the third run, those 30 minutes were a grueling slog through what felt like just repeating the same few battles over and over again. But when my hope started to waver on run 17, when I saw that we were missing out on a Breloom, we were welcomed with a toothy grin and the flattest of fucks. Ty the Rain Dish Feraligatr had been added onto our team. And while some alligators are known for their speed, this fat fuck flaunts a frighteningly inferior speed stat compared to the rest of his stats. However, despite this, we were able to take out the rival's digging Breloom because of the strange exploit that makes it so that you can never miss a move in the lab, letting us hyper voice the mighty mushroom until it faints. Our moveset included an unknown hidden power, hyper voice, and a newly learned triple kick. With a decent attack stat to boot, we were able to death roll through the trainers of Viridian Forest and also pick up Sacred Fire. While Ty's special attack wasn't that high, it was still a decent coverage move to have in case of grass and bug types, as well as the dreaded He Who Shall Not Be super affected. Ty's high special defense also allows us to take super effective electric moves from our rival's Carvana. However, I found out a quirky little thing about our rival's terrifying Breloom. Sacred Fire? Ah! It has flash fire! That's right, while I was busy trying to get checkmate, our rival was playing 3D chess. Regardless, we were able to wrap up the fight with our powerful hyper voice once again. With all that, we cleared all the trainers we could, and we were now ready to take on Brock and his randomized team of Mons. Luckily though, we had Feraligatr, who was able to land more Sacred Fires and Hyper Voices than a rapper's diss track. And when we see a Latios, a potentially terrifying threat, we place our heart in the cards on our still mysterious hidden power, and lo and behold, we end up dragging our power all over Latios to take it down in one. When Brock sends out his Venomoth, we send out one more Sacred Fire as we appreciate Feraligatr's back sprite. Look at Feraligatr's ass! That's our ass now, chat! His Celebi comes out and surprises us with an Intimidate. I mean, look at that terrifying creature. On top of that, it surprisingly gets the Omni Boost from Silverwind the following turn, increasing all of its stats by 50%. However, despite the terrifying Korok on steroids, it ends up going for a Skull Bash, leaving it wide open for one last attack. Skull Bash? It's throwing! No! We're throwing! Yup, we missed a 95% accurate Sacred Fire. I end up using our healing item, which was the right move seeing how much Skull Bash actually ended up doing, and with one last hidden power, we finally are able to defeat Brock for the first time. I was high off this victory, being able to meet my goal of beating Brock in less than 20 attempts, that I didn't even care that I had to burn one of our precious heals because of a Vaporeon with Spark that ended up paralyzing us and leaving us in the red. Why would that be stressful? Despite that though, we still end up in Mount Moon for the very first time. This would be the first location, outside of the gyms, that would be considered a dungeon in this challenge, meaning we would have to fight our way through the entire map without leaving for healing. If we did, we would not be able to re-enter, and whatever trainers we skipped would have to be left behind, patiently waiting for a battle that would never happen. This leads to a difficult juggling act for the challenger, wondering if facing a potential threat or burning a heal is worth all the experience that could be gained. These fights are definitely a calculated risk, and boy, am I bad at math. We're able to clear out the required fights throughout the cave and reach the once again extremely important choice of which fossil we would take. It's always Helix, let's be honest, baby. I decide to leave Mount Moon, however, without double backing on any of the optional trainers due to Feraligatr's extremely low HP at this point. After arriving to Cerulean, we make our way to the route north of the city for our next rival battle. Feraligatr makes quick work of the team despite the once again terrifying Flashfire Breloom, and this opens up Nugget Bridge and all of the trainers prior to Bill's house. By the time that we free Bill from his little fairy prison, our Feraligatr has now reached a respectable level 35. In the normal playthrough, this would normally be when you take on Misty. However, due to the increased difficulty and the additional mons that she has on her team, we actually make our way down towards Route 11 in the south, past Vermilion City, for even more trainer battles. Fun fact, Transform ends up being an absolutely terrifying move in this run, since the transforming Pokemon ends up copying all of your best stats, leading to a Spider-Versian fight where you could quickly end up losing a lot of your health or hacking yourself with the same cheese that you try to serve to opponents. And boy, is there a terrifying slice of moldy cheese on our moveset. Foreshadowing aside, we grab the bike voucher from that weird pervert, and then we finally make our way to Cerulean to take on Misty for the first time. We defeat all of the gym trainers relatively unscathed, outside of a paralysis that we needed to heal using our lava cookie, and meet the big boss, ready to take on the second gym leader of the challenge. Her first two mons are honestly laughable. However, when her Raikou hits the field, I end up finding out in the worst way that Raikou has Flame Body, burning Tai once again and cutting our Sky High attack stat in half. I need to use another status healing item to make sure that we actually hit harder than a melted stick of butter. Hyper Voice takes out the Burning Thunder Dog, and luckily we're able to sweep through the rest of Misty's team with little issue. And with that, our sights are now turned from the swimming gym leader to another terrifying body in the water, the SSAN. While there's only one required fight, the bigger threat comes from the freedom of choice. Wow, what a weird sentence. What am I, the government? Thank you, I'll be here for another 20 hours. There are so many optional battles on this ship that can give your Pokemon an amazing head start in levels. However, as you can tell by now, more battles means more chances that something could go terribly, terribly wrong. So after we take on Kaizo and quickly sweep through his team, I end up PP maxing our Hyper Voice and take on several more trainers for that ever so elusive XP. While we do get a very generous heal from a Rapidash with Present, we end up facing two unexpected threats: Sacred Fire's 95% accuracy and the lowly Twin Needle. When Gentleman Lauren sends out her Zapdos, I thought it would be a walk in the park with our extreme level gap. However, no! Oh my god, dude! 5%! Oh, we were now in huge trouble when it came to our HP. I will say, I'm unsure if I technically cheated here because I was able to get to the Pokemon Center and heal back up, but I did forget to grab the HM for cut before leaving. I guess it's technically a soft lock, but if I did it wrong, make sure to comment below. God, I'm so annoying with these plugs. And you should like and subscribe for that honesty I just showed. We wave goodbye to the SSAN and run all the way back to Route 9 for a bit more XP before once again taking on our next big dungeon, the Vermilion City Gym. We have to clear out all of the gym trainers, so I decide to challenge Artist Noel, who sends out an Ariados. Oh hey, that's the Pokemon I showed earlier when I was talking about Transform. Boy, I sure do hope that I remember that I can transform and play around that. Oh, I forgot you fucking do this, dude. Oh, wait, no, Ariados kind of sucks, dude. Oh, no! Are you kidding me? Boy, I sure didn't. Because of this burn, our attack stat is once again split right down the middle like the ass crack on Feraligatr Sprite. And because of our previous fights, we were out of all of our status clearing items. On top of that, we end up facing a pain-splitting Machamp who steals a majority of our health right before we take on Surge. While we were able to clear out the rest of the trainers, we had to use up every single heal in our bag, so the outcome of this fight was not looking good. We approach Lieutenant Surge and challenge him. While we were able to Sacred Fire through a portion of his team, the chip damage of burn slowly takes out Feraligatr like a Minecraft player who just learned how to use a flint and steel. Tai ends up succumbing to his own burns in front of a Chinchou, ending run 17, not with a bang, but with a dying flame. Our personal best has moved up, but the end of this run was crushing. Kaizo Ironmon was definitely starting to show that it had hands, and taking on this challenge was definitely a marathon. A series of unfortunate misses and item management had led to our downfall, and boy did it burn. Literally. However, this was still just the beginning. Nearly 5 hours into our run, we were now just attempting our 18th attempt, and while I was able to meet our self-induced goal, I still wanted more. I wanted to see if I could win at the end of these 24 hours. And nothing would slow me down. That was such a bad idea. Okay, that's bad. Cool. Heat wave. Okay, well, the challenge wheel might slow me down. Are you f***ing kidding me? The first thing I have to do is something workout related. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now nothing would slow me down. Okay, well, I actually, nope. No! Out of here. Okay, so this challenge is harder than I thought. Okay, well, we tried. Okay, never mind, I'm resetting. Piece of shit. God, I'm gonna lose my mind! Okay, I get it. This challenge is difficult. Let's see what we gotta do. Oh, fuck. Now that we were halfway to 100 attempts and over 6.5 hours into stream, I started to feel the time weighing on me. For some additional insight, I'd started my stream around 5 p.m., so it was nearly midnight at this point. And honestly, I was wondering what would hit me first, a wall of exhaustion or a second wind that could inspire me to continue going on throughout the night. However, with the 30 plus runs that I just had that all nearly amounted to nothing, I was bleeding energy quickly. I needed something to bring me back to the mindset I once had, a figure to look towards for hope, something that could reignite the passion and confidence that I felt in those early runs, an ambition to cherish, an ideal to follow, an aspiration to inspire. What I needed was... The word of our new Lord begins with the turning down of a false prophet. While we were compelled to go right, we see the onion fairy that once brought us so much pain and must turn away from temptation. Instead, we choose the prophet who would bring about our next run, the humble Drio. Whilst the base stat total of Drio is a mere 460, as well as being blessed with the perplexing combination of a flying type bestowed with the ability Levitate, we continue with our three-headed avian. We are gifted the move Zap Cannon, which only has a 50% chance to hit. However, despite the middling accuracy, we somehow land the attacks and the paralysis as well, as if it was an act from some higher power. With one more drill peck, we break the shackles of the lab and can feel the beautiful sun hit our pixelated skin once more. While we have the options for potential pivots, something compels me to continue this run with Drio. While we may be weak to 3 different types, our special defense would protect us from electric and ice weaknesses. All we had to do was stray away from the words of the rock type. I felt the passion compel me to use this Drio, and I wanted to make sure to dissuade the doubters scoffing in the Twitch chat. I'm putting all my eggs in the Drio basket. I believe in the Drio dream. And maybe it's my brain slowly trying to escape, but the Drio dream is real. You may say I'm a Drio dreamer, but I'm not the only one. And with those words coursing through my vein, I take on the first non-believer. Despite the powerful physical attack moves and even more powerful super effective ice moves, the Drio Dream lands his zap cannons when we need him the most. When facing a monster that can move ground itself, Drio does not let earthly possessions tie him down. With only 2 turn moves, Drio is able to successfully protect against terrifying foes, even through paralysis. This reminds me of a verse from Hoenn 12:3. And the Drio said upon the Groudon, "Skill issue, get better, nerd." Even when we accidentally run into non-believers on our way back, we heal ourselves with a Hydro Potion and let the Drio continue. The dream continue. While other Pokemon give us promises of better moves or stats, I continue to stay steadfast in my faith. Even when facing seemingly impossible foes, the words of Drio leave opponents confused and allow us to continue. We defeat our heretic of a rival once more, and my devotion to the Drio Dream starts to peak. The Drio Dream continues, gamers. We enter the domain of Brock, and we are ready to once more take on more disbelievers. Our Drio Dream continues, a prophet to be sent when the morale was lowest. We continue our crusade throughout Kanto by going into Route 3, spreading the word of the bird. The bird is the word. However, this is where I must be honest with you, dear viewers. Despite my loyalty to the bird, even the strongest supporters can sometimes falter. Why are we doing this well? Like, this is such a joke fucking Pokemon. How the fuck are we doing this well with it? And, unfortunately, in that one moment of weakness, that was enough to allow Aerodactyl to drop a super effective and stab-boosted Rock Slide onto our Drio. While it may not have been our farthest run, it surely was our most inspiring so far. And just like that, the Drio Dream had come to an end, and it was time for us to wake up. Anyway, one by one, I continued my attempts, and of course, one by one, they were all quickly snuffed out. We were passing 7 hours of stream at this point, going beyond midnight. On attempt 59, we even had a Dodrio appear. However, this was merely a false prophet whose words must not be listened to and... Sorry, I don't know what the f got over me, Jesus. And then, after I hit 60 attempts, I finished my next punishment. No. Run after run and attempt after attempt, I continued to get knocked out either in the lab, Viridian Forest, or just against wild Pokemon while trying to pivot. And as time continued to pass by, I could feel both the emotional and physical strain the 24-hour stream was starting to take on me. So, on attempt 93, I decided to call in the reinforcements. My mod and friend of the stream, Peace, Love, Yowie. Can I say Yowie on YouTube?
I had too many things open. What's up, fucker?
Hi, everyone say hi to Yowie. Since it was getting close to 2 a.m. West Coast time at this point in the stream, I knew that the chat was either getting tired or were Europeans. So what better way to keep the attention of the viewers than something that transcends language? Oh god, this fucking game, dude. And I'll put it very small down here. Making my stream into an ADHD wet dream. Oh, also, Gardevoir got mega kicked by a mega chicken and we were back to the reset grind. Which means it's time for a musical montage. What the hell is your capture card doing? Wow, cool, I get a fucking Silcoon. I guess I'll go fuck myself. Yes.
You haven't reached your run from run 18.
Was that 18? That was so long ago. This is wild. This makes me want to play Sukai. At 10.5 hours into stream, I'd finally hit a wall. My cabin fever was starting to overwhelm me, so I decided that it would be a good idea for me to step away from the screen for a second. Because what's safer than walking around LA at 3 a.m.? Luckily, local Spencer's assistant manager and mod extraordinaire played some Hatsune Miku game while I was walking. Thank you, Hatsune Miku. Also, they played the Suika game at some point and had the most rigged match of all time.
This is my life, chat.
But with some time off and a cool jacket to boot, it was time to go back into the monotonous grind. When run 138 started, I went through the motions and checked all of the Pokemon available for us to take. And we ended up with a Kadabra. While he was strong enough for the lab, I knew that a pivot was necessary to see any sort of success. Route 2 ends up spawning a Jolteon, which seems like a decent mon. Relatively high base stat total on top of only having one weakness, we could definitely cook with that. We luckily are able to find a level 8 Jolteon and then catch it using the randomized Master Ball that we received in Oak's lab. The stat spread of TK the Jolteon seems really good. Extremely high HP on top of decent attack stats. The biggest downside only appearing to be the mid-speed stat and the fact that half of our moves had accuracy rates less than 90. Which, if you've ever played a Pokemon game, means that you're more likely to win the lottery than land one of these moves more than twice. Nevertheless, we continue with the Electric Evolution and we're able to start rolling through the trainers of Viridian Forest as well as our rival on Route 22. By the time we reach Brock, we've only taken a few points of damage, despite our low speed stat. This was only one of 2 runs that we've had since the faded Feraligatr run that actually defeated Brock. The others being the Drio Dream and Run 104 with the Nidoking that wiped at Mount Moon. So to say that I was excited to see us getting the Boulder Badge would definitely be an understatement. We clear through the trainers on Route 3 and make our way into Mount Moon once again. We had to burn one of our precious hyper potions to make sure that this run doesn't end short, and we're finally able to make it to Celadon City. Now, you're probably wondering at this point, Dan, how are you able to stay so cognizant throughout this stream despite the fact that it is now past 5 a.m., probably having gotten more than 6 hours of sleep the previous day? Well, the answer is simple. Oh my god, I forgot I was streaming.
Oh, shut up.
I wasn't. Despite the Delulu setting in, we were able to push through the rival fight, take on the Nugget Bridge, help Bill become a human, and end up learning Hyper Voice on TK, the signature move that helped us clear so many trainers back in Run 17. With our high attack stat, we had a new move that could help us sweep through the rest of the game and anybody who stands in our way. Now, you may be wondering why I didn't get rid of any of the low accuracy moves. Well, that's because our moves have actually been hitting more often than not, so I started to believe that these moves may not be as bad as I thought despite their terrible accuracy. I've been pumping and blasting since day one, Himmy. I can't stop now. Check this shit out. We land these every single time. Recency bias? Never heard of her. With our new move and all of the trainers now defeated, we were able to enter Misty's gym with a level 40 Jolteon. After defeating the gym trainers with our never-missing Hydro Pumps, we took on Misty once again after 12 hours of gameplay. Despite some potentially hard hitters like Mew and a bone meringuing Slowking, which sounds like an adult romance novel, Misty quickly goes down with just a few hyper voices from our Jolteon, and we receive the Cascade Badge. With the second gym down, we once again flash our ticket in order to climb aboard the SS Anne. And with only one required fight, I'm sure that this dungeon wouldn't have any long-lasting ramifications on the run as a whole. Oh. That's weird. This is normally where a foreshadowing joke would happen. Huh. Wild. Sure enough, our rival battle was a little frustrating after Kinesis from his opening A-Pong, dropping our accuracy by 1 stage. This leads to us missing 2 hyper voices in a row, and we also end up fighting a Flash Fire Pineco, who ends up paralysing us. Paralysing? However, we're able to fight through the misses and full paras, allowing us to take on more trainers before finally leaving with our cut HM. On Route 9, I end up triple missing Hydro Pump, which sucks because I'm a big fan of sowing and not so much of reaping. However, Never Punish Dan lands his Fire Blasts right after. We were now approaching where we had lost in our best run, the Vermilion Gym. This time around though, we got through these fights relatively easily outside of needing to equip a cherry berry due to a random tri-attack paralysis and a lucky hydro pump land through confusion. The pump never hurt, chat. After defeating all of the trainers, we were finally back to where it ended for our flat champion, Feraligatr. We challenge Analyst Antoinette and send out TK for another gauntlet of Mons. Wigglytuff, Sunflora, Feebas, Doduo, and Sunkern. While we do take some damage, his first 5 Mons were no problem at all. Really, hype battles can be really easy sometimes. Never mind, I'm eating my fucking words, dude. While this Raikou had some high defenses as well as Surge's stock of super potions, it didn't seem like it had much to hit us with outside of Thunder. So we were able to beat the poster child of "We've got Jolteon at home" with just a few hyper voices. We were now officially the furthest we've ever gotten in any of our runs after 12.5 hours. And despite it getting close to 6 AM, I felt a second wind come over me. We were able to enter Rock Tunnel, taking on required trainers, and just like that, we came out the other side to Route 10. On top of getting a full heal from Jolteon's pickup, we also got a Hyper Potion from one of the hidden item locations. After all of these failures, it felt nice to see things actually going our way this run. We enter the Pokemon Tower in Lavender Town and take on the next rival battle, who goes down with relatively no problem. We take on some mediums in the tower, which allows TK to grow even more powerful, and then clear Route 12 and 8 quickly. We also get some tea from the old lady in Celadon. Giovanni's getting a divorce. Oh, tea! And then grab the Fly HM to help us traverse the map a little bit more easily. Congrats, Fakemon fans. We finally have a flying Eevee because of me. Once we get back to Celadon, we're able to take on the Rocket Hideout for even more experience before taking on the next gyms. One obstacle I didn't plan for, however, was attempting to do the Hideout floor puzzle after being live for 13 straight hours. Oh, that's not what to do. Oh god. Dude, floor puzzles when you're sleepy is not very helpful. After getting through that spinning hellscape, we're able to grab the lift key to take on Giovanni, and despite some terrifying opponents, we're able to one-shot the entire team one by one. Back in Lavender Town, we could now finish up the Pokemon Tower to awaken the mother spirit of the mournful Cubone. Intruders be gone. Oh, it's a Spinarak, chat. Whoa, watch out, guys. We were able to save Mr. Fuji and receive the Poké-Flute from him. This meant that the grinding tour of Kanto would lead us next to the cycling road. All we would need to do is grab our bike and... Wait, excuse me. Oh, I have a bike. Oh no, I don't have a bike, chat. I've been f***ed up. Okay, so like I said, we grab our bike and then we go onto the cycling road to beat up all of the bikers with little to no issue. At this point, many of the East Coast viewers were waking up to my run, and several who have attempted this challenge before were genuinely surprised by how far we've gotten. While our defenses and speed were kind of middling, our HP was sky high, so even powerful moves didn't leave much of a dent on us. While the power of Hyper Voice was only resisted by a few different types and could easily one-shot most mons that we faced. We clean up the rest of Cycling Road and arrive in Fuchsia City, where we grab the Surf HM in the Safari Zone. This meant that our only stop before we doubled back to Celadon to take on Erica was Route 12 and 13. Our run was going extremely well, and I was feeling such high hopes that I was even making jokes to help me keep the hype going. Hey chat, what's Pearl from that horror movie? What's her favorite Pokemon?
What is it?
Almastar!
I don't know.
Almastar!
Oh my god!
We just had a few more trainers left on Route 14. So I healed up and I decided to come in from the opposite direction without a single care in the world. The innocuous schoolboy Joey challenged us and sent out a Sharpedo. If you peep the screen on the top left, we've previously fought a Sharpedo and could see that its moveset was nothing to be scared of. So, mindlessly, I decided to go for a Thunder Punch. This decision, however, was when disaster struck. No!
No way. No!
It hasn't used Destiny Bond once. And now, my friends, welcome to the 5 stages of grief as performed by a certified Sharpedo hater. Denial. No! Anger. Are you fucking kidding me? Son of a bitch. Bargaining. Yup. Last time I saw it was level 36. This would have been a sweep. Depression. Dude, that sucks. Oh, That was such a good run. And finally, acceptance. Okay, chat. I'm gonna do runs until 7:30, and then I'm just gonna take a nap. I'm not sure what the speedrun times of going through all stages are, but I gotta say, 6:52's gotta at least make the top 20. With the end of run 138, we were back into the grind. I attempted runs for another 30 minutes, but I didn't have the heart or energy anymore after that devastating loss. So, after another 8 attempts, we saved at our first lab escape with the Lairon, hoping I could get at least a little bit of rest before finishing off the stream with one more solid attempt. I threw up a YouTube playlist of some of my videos, which of course you can watch as well after this video. Like, comment, subscribe, blah, 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 blah. And I decided to take a 5-hour nap, which could give us at least 4.5 more hours to attempt to take on Kaizo Ironmon once more. Also, if any of you wanna actually me and say that I technically didn't attempt this challenge for 24 hours like the video title says, yes, you're right. I'm sorry I lied to you this late into the video. But it was a good lab, wasn't it? I rested my little head and came back about 4.5 hours later with a new shirt and a new outlook. For the first 14 hours, I was hell-bent on beating this challenge and being known as that guy who beat Kaizo Ironmon in just 24 hours. However, after so many attempts and a nap that honestly should have been twice as long, I was ready to take on this challenge with a different mindset. I wasn't gonna go into the final 4.5 hours stressing to beat the challenge, but rather to go into it to have fun, to be silly and make goofy jokes the entire time. So I would try to beat Kaizo Ironmon, but I would have a good time during it all. Now, while we were flying through attempts at this point, hitting the final 3 hours of the challenge made something a little more clear. I wasn't beating this challenge. Why? So I decided to call upon the one entity that could bring a smile to my face despite the hours of loss. One motley crew of individuals who I adore for many reasons, ironic and unironic alike. It was time for the Weezer runs. We get Weezing. I will take a Weezing. What is that? Ooh, we got the para! Wait a second. Oh, we're out, gamers. Chat, I have a request. I know I've been naming them after people who sub, but I'm gonna name this one Buddy Holly. Well, that lasted long. And then, for run 95, we had a Shedinja that was going to face a Rayquaza. So I obviously named it what made most sense in that moment. While I had no faith in this Shedinja, he was able to pull off something that I would have never expected. And just as a heads up, there's a cover of Cruel Angel Thesis being sung by Frank Sinatra in the background. Just ignore that. Oh, that's Sky Attack. Great. We're out! We're out! Never looking back! This Shedinja looked at the face of a sky god and said, "Call an ambulance, but not for me." Anyway, he literally dies like a minute later to an erupting Piloswine. Back to the death montage. Kill me, kill me, kill me, kill me, kill me. Thank you. The intimidate. There is no fucking way that your special attack was good enough that it would have been. And with all that, viewers, we come to what I think was the actual final attempt of this challenge. One that will be remembered forever. And that's for all of time. Don't you ever fear, Flygon is here, and she knows I need help. This bone is ringing, armor not fainted, you get out of the lab. Woo woo, and I know I'm hers. Woo woo, and her stats are fine. Woo woo, and now it's Flygon time. Ooh, her name is Buddy Holly. Uh-oh, and her ability's natural cure. I don't care if it doesn't help us anyway. I don't care about that. I don't care about that. Beam, beam, ice beam and some more. Another ice beam and Brock gets floored. Oh, we got a TM2. Oh, it's self-destruct if we need to go boom. You wanna hear my Glalie? It goes brrrr. Prodigal duck and it's a dick. Explosion with damn that stratosic. You tried to explode on me, you piece of shit. That's so funny. He keeps trying to explode. And now it's Flygon time. Ironmon is kind of like drinking. In short amounts, it's pretty good, but if you binge it for 24 hours, you start to question everything that you've done in your life. Also, you have to pee a lot during it. Anyway, we get to Misty and we're able to sweep her team with Buddy Holly, as well as the SSN with very little issue. And with only 30 minutes left in this challenge, I was starting to wonder if we were going to leave this on a cliffhanger, a metaphorical outcome that would tie up this challenge in a beautiful note, and despite all the hardship and difficulty of getting to this point, we were able to end it where we still had the most issue. The Vermilion City Gym. A testament of our perseverance that we continue to show over these last 24 hours, and a gate that can move us towards the end of this run. This Flygon could easily overcome every obstacle. Sure, her attack stats weren't the best, but she could come as far as the caked up Feraligatr and the Jolteon who met his destiny, Bond. Maybe she too could become the next Iron Kaizomon champion. After Surge, the world is our oyster. The only thing stopping us from succeeding would be our set. Oh. Are you fucking kidding me? I got super faint. No! Yes. Don't do Dutch. Don't. How am I supposed to play around that? With the end of run 216, we had less than 30 minutes. And in those 30 minutes, we were welcomed with loss after loss after loss. On run 228, and with less than 10 minutes on the clock, I made one last final decision. Instead of attempting this challenge, probably to no avail, I decided to spend the final few minutes with the community. I pulled up the daily Pokédoku and decided to try and fill out the board with chat suggestions. If you've never played Pokédoku before, you pretty much just try and find Pokemon for each category in this little 3x3 grid. For an additional level of challenge, you can try and get the lowest uniqueness level by choosing Pokemon that very few others thought of. A simple but difficult challenge. And as I wrap up my stream, I realize that there's no better way for me to show off the reason why I love challenges. Many people who watch my streams may wonder why I play games in certain ways. I've attempted to do a blind Nuzlocke of Violet when it first came out, did a white solo run with only a Blitzel, and even documented my journey of attempting to finish Barbie, Oppenheimer, and Pikmin 4 all in one day. And because of the bizarre and sometimes grueling levels of difficulty some of these challenges are, I get criticized by others, mostly in a lighthearted way, but sometimes in a more critical lens. I've been told that I may not be able to understand or appreciate the art of something to its fullest because of my love of challenges. And honestly, they might be right. I mean, hell, maybe it would have been more successful for me to attempt Ironmon for a week straight to see how I possibly felt about the challenge. Maybe Pokédoku is more fun if I don't try to make it a competition. But that's not the reason why I do these challenges. The reason why is that I enjoy trying something new. Something that disrupts the norm by adding an extra level of uniqueness. It's a new experience that, for better or for worse, I was able to create. And that process of creating, planning, and adapting is something that I really enjoy. And whether I spend 24 hours on it like Kaizo Ironmon, or 8 minutes on it like Pokédoku, I come out the other end enjoying the process, no matter the outcome. While I wasn't successful in beating Kaizo Ironmon after 24 hours, I still had a lot of fun. I had moments that caught me off guard in sheer joy, moments that left me stunned in disappointment. And despite the exhaustion that I felt, I wouldn't have wished it any other way. So, what makes a challenge fun? It's the stories that you make along the way.